Thanks everyone for joining us today. We have a presentation with Sable Resources. CEO Ruben Padilla is here to walk us through the story, and also my colleague Magda is going to help with the Q&A today. Yeah, for anyone new to Sable, we do have a previous webinar or two on the Adelaide Capital YouTube channel you can check out. This will be an overview as well as an update to talk about the upcoming exploration program, as well as one that was just completed this year. And with that out of the way, I would like to introduce Ruben, who's going to walk us through the Sable story. Hi, Ruben.
Thank you very much, Deborah and Anna. It's a pleasure to be here. We have been analyzing all the data from the last season and getting ready to start this new season. And so it will be a pleasure to share this data with the investors. You know, the objective and the systematic work, the approach that we have is the same. Our objective is to focus only on big systems, to take the chance. If we take the chance to explore, only take the chance for possible big mineral systems. In this case, in this moment, we are 100% focused in porphyry systems, porphyry, copper, gold, moly systems. As you know, in province of San Juan, that's all our effort in this moment there. Okay, our dream is to find the next Jose Maria, next Pachón, Filo del Sol, those kind of deposits that we would like to find. To find this, then it's important that we keep our eye in every technical work that we do to be in those type of project targets. And so that's enough, because you know what we are doing, you know the group, you know the way that we work, that is, we have been building this company, the new Sable, since 2018, doing all the base work to generate pipeline of projects. We're starting at the bottom of the pipeline in this triangle. You know, that's the reason I separate with white lines every step when we move up on the triangle. 2018, we started with some ideas. The dream was that maybe the mineral belts that were coming from Chile were extending into San Juan. That was a concept. A concept is proved now. We have a Fierro, La Poncha, and Don Julio, you know, 100 kilometers apart each one, and we've improved by the style of mineralization and by the style and the age of the rock that we are in the mineral belts that are extending into San Juan. We control 160,000 hectares. And now after that, we did work. We found a lot of targets that we have been moving. That you can see Tocota, Cerro Colorado. All those targets are being worked in this moment, because if they have the enough good characteristics, they will be moved into first round of drilling. I think at least 3 of these will move next year to the first round of drilling. And this year, you can see we are not drilling for this season. We don't have any project in the first round of drilling, because we have enough advanced projects, second round projects that we need to drill. You remember last year we drilled 7 projects, 7 targets, and from those 7, we believe that 4 of them have enough good characteristics. We need to drill the second round of drilling, and hopefully one of them will jump into discovery. We just need one good drill hole to get there. So this is, again, our systematic approach that we are not changing. This is the way we change. Those are the big pillars that we have. We focus on the big systems, and we are systematic in this approach that we do. And so we have now, this is a map that you guys all you know well. Here's the mineral belt coming from Chile. Chile is in this side, San Juan in this side. We proved that the porphyry system extends all the way down 200 and something kilometers, more than that, 300 kilometers into San Juan, and to these blue ones. And we have in Don Julio, where we have the association with South 32, they are paying for all the work that we do there. 70,000 hectares. We have identified 5 targets, porphyry targets. We have 1 target is proposal that we're not going to drill. We drilled it last year, but we're going to stop the drilling now, and we're going to concentrate in Gringa and Punta Cana. And we are preparing other 2 targets for the following season, that is Tocota and Fermin. We have Poncha, where we drilled 1 target this year, with very interesting results. And also El Fierro had up here, where we started working here only 1.5 years ago. And we have been advanced and really defining a big mineral system in El Fierro. That's very exciting, early days, that's very exciting. So from these properties in Don Julio, where we have been most of the time, we got here in 2018. And that's the reason the projects are more mature. And the newest project that we have in Fierro and La Concha, and we are developing more knowledge as we work in this area. So I will give you some update about Don Julio first, and then I will jump to El Fierro, and then to La Concha. So again, Don Julio, almost 70,000 hectares. This area that you see here by 12 by 10 kilometers or 10 by 10 is only a fraction of the whole property, but is where we have recognized a very large minerals system, complex system with different. This is at the beginning we knew this was a large advanced argillic lithocap mineralization, but that was drilled in the past in some areas looking for the upper levels of the thermal system, but we recognize that this is a strongly, deeply eroded mineral system in the epithermal part, and then the potential is in the porphyries, in the transition from the advanced argillic into the potential porphyry. But the presence of porphyry was just a dream here, because we didn't know how deep was going to be, we didn't know it was going to exist. So, but all the characteristics said, yes, there's a chance. This is a large system of 10 by 10 kilometers of alteration. And we saw evidence that maybe Tocota has a chance to be a porphyry, La Gringa, Poposa. And the drilling, you will see now, I will explain a little bit more about La Gringa results in Punta Cana. And then I will talk about Tocota, that is in this area here. So this is a map. Just go back here. This map represents this area here from Poposa to La Gringa. There's a small cut there. You can see La Gringa to Poposa. That's like a 5.5 kilometers of strong alteration of a lithocap. It has anomalous copper and gold values on the surface, but all the drilling that was done in the past, that was in this hill, is Cerro Amarillo. They always went from advanced argillic into argillic or propylitic alteration. So it was a system that didn't have a roots. And with the mapping that we have done in geophysics, we started vectoring that the possible potential center of the porphyry is located toward the west, underneath a valley covered by very thin gravel. So we put two holes that you can see there, hole number 9 and number 7, that are here with these green dots. And those holes were the first hole that has identified in this big part of the lithocap evidence of porphyry mineralization. We went through advanced argillic with like a 0.3 gram gold and some copper. And then we transitioned into sericite and then into biothitic alteration that is potassic. That's exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted to see that the potassic was at the depth that we can reach with this drilling that we did, if the potassic was there. Now, we know the copper and the moly values are increasing at depth with the potassic, the way that we also want to see it. But we haven't, with those drill holes, there's two holes, they didn't drill into any intrusive rock. They drilled into the host rock that is here, a series of quartzites. And so in the next slide, I'm going to show, you can see the drill result. For me, the drill results in here, the reason I call them very interesting is because this is the first time that we cut into porphyry style mineralization. You can see there's 61 meters of equivalent of 0.33% copper with some copper, gold, and moly. We have 125 meters with moly, that also these very consistent values of moly of 100 ppm moly that are very characteristic that we are close to the potassic zone or in the potassic zone. And 71 meters of 0.28, 45, 46 of 0.22. Okay, I understand that they are sub-ore levels. We don't want to see 0.22. We all want to see in this part of the world like around 0.5% copper to really think about ore grade. However, because we're in the, we are assuming to be the margin or the possible intrusive they produce, I think these anomalies with this geology, after so much work that we have been vectoring now toward the valley in here, and then the next feature that I will show you will be the same image here, but with IP, with the physical information. And this small image here, you can see these are the two holes that we drilled. Those one that has a good geochemical anomalies in the transition from advanced argillic to the porphyry style mineralization at depth. But with the IP that we have now, that we recently reprocessed, is showing this very nice over 35, over 40 millivolt per volt chargeability anomaly, like a 70 kilometers into 700 meters into the valley. It's very attractive because, you know, all the pieces look like this is the center of the porphyry. And the way we have been drilling here is the margin of on the potassic and the advanced argillic. So the section AA prime that you see on the left, AA prime, is basically, that is the surface now. So the drilling that we were doing was going through the mountain here and going to this yellow zone, this argillic, and back into propylitic or argillic. But this year we drilled these holes, number 9 and 7, that were right in the margin here, next to this fault. And then we went from advanced argillic to sericitic into potassic. So I think the porphyry now has a good chance to be located in here. So I think that we have a good chance to drill into the porphyry that produces this large mineral system. And then we need to check now is that if we hit it with this drilling, is what is the grade? We have economic grade, and this is the big question. I think we're very close to drill into the center of the system, and now the question will be, do we have economic grade? And we will find out very soon, because we are going to start drilling at the end of this month. We're going to bring the rigs, and the drilling is going to start in Don Julio at the end of the month. And that's the plan, to continue drilling in here and then move to Punta Cana. So La Gringa is in a very advanced point, you know, where we know that this drilling should tell us it is something good and economic there, or is just a large mineral system that doesn't have economic grade. And that's the nature of this business. I really hope that we find good grade. The system is very large and strongly mineralized on all the margins. So I hope that it is connected with the center that is strongly mineralized. So we will find out very soon. Like I said, we're going to have the rig drilling at the end of the month. The other target that we drilled, it was Punta Cana, that we also very like a lot. I mentioned before that this target, we discovered this target in December of last year, in this outcrop, sub-outcrop, and we put the rod in there, but with the idea to drill on the top of the geochemistry anomaly that is associated also with this big, strong magnetic anomaly. Unfortunately, the rod didn't make it in April. We were on the margin, and we decided to stop the rod and take a shot and drill 2 holes that we knew that were drilling in the margin of the mag anomaly. And it was very good to see a hole like hole number 8 that has a little bit more than 400 meters of very close to 0.3 grams per ton gold equivalent. It's not bad for drilling in the margin of the anomaly, and for being the first time that we drilled something that we discovered, we walked the first time in December of last year. To tell you about how dynamic is the company, we are moving very fast. I insist with people with this, we're not waiting for years to get ready to drill a target. If we like something, we were in the area, we will put some holes, take it the chance that there's not a recovery hole, but we start getting the 3D concept of the target. So this is a good case. What we're going to do now, where the rod is very close to the top of the back anomaly and the geochemistry, we are now going to move the rod to the top. We're going to drill on the top of the mag anomaly and do more work to find out what is this other mag anomaly that we have here. So, and this is, we prove with the drill hole that this is a porphyry with Maricunga style of veins that are transitioning into more classic porphyry style with bornite, with magnetite, very different porphyry style than the Gringa. The Gringa is more copper moly with some gold, and this is more gold copper. So although they are very close, and this is outcropping, so it's very interesting to see in the district that we have these two types of porphyries. So that's the two targets that we are going to drill, advanced targets in Don Julio. And also we are going to work to prepare for drilling the Tocota target. This is a porphyry style mineralization that we discovered a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago. And it's basically in the center of the oldest volcano, the 8 million years old volcano. And we found veins, you can see that porphyry style mineralization in the center of this old volcano with good value, 0.3 gram gold, 0.3% copper. But we didn't do much work because the access was complicated. It's a high elevation, and it took long walk to get here. You know, it's basically walk from 3,000 meters to 5,000 meters in a one-day walk, and just take too much time without a road. But you can see we now have the road, this curvy road that goes here, now comes to this plateau, and now we can start doing geochemistry, geophysics, and get this target of Tocota that I really like. It was always one of my favorite targets in the property. And now this target will be ready for drilling for next season. And also we have Fermin that we talked in another presentation that is also ready for drilling. And this is Don Julio. You know, there's a lot of work going on in Don Julio. We have done a lot of work. I think the potential now that we probably go into discovery phase after this second phase of drilling that we're doing, I think are very good. We will see. We are doing the right work. We keep doing the work as we promised you to do. They do a lot of projects, do a good scientific and practical work, and that's what we are doing. And all this work is being paid by South 32. Now jumping 2 kilometers to the north is the Fierro property. With 58,000 hectares. As I mentioned, we started here only 1.5 years ago. We went to work in the blue area you see there, not in the red area, in a bunch of high grade silver-based metal veins that have good values, and we like them. But in work that we were doing, we discovered porphyry style mineralization associated to those red colors that you see there. And we immediately change the focus of exploration to the porphyries because are the one that can give us a much better valuation if we have a discovery. What we are finding now is after this one and a half year of work is that this work was never drilled by anybody, never worked by anybody before us. It's only 120 kilometers south of Filo del Sol and Jose Maria, with the same rock, same age as 20 million years old. Right jurisdiction. And so the red color that you see here is a magnetic anomaly. We call the Donna here. So the red is a high MAC. That high MAC now we know it's associated to big masses or big volumes of diuretic intrusive, quartz diuretic intrusive that we interpret are formed on the margin of the volcanic caldera. The central part, the green area in blue in the central has volcanic rocks that are 20 million years old. And the intrusive that are related to the red color that you see are also 20 million years. So it's like a big caldera that's through all these volcanics, and then has resurgent intrusive rocks on the margin of the caldera. And those intrusives are the ones that bring the mineralization. With porphyries in the center, and a bunch of halos of base metal veins forming a district now is a 10 by 10 kilometers. But nothing wrong with the 1.5 years to get to these levels of knowledge. Again, our drilling is very aggressive. We walk into Piros, that is the porphyry in here, also at the end of December or middle of December of last year, with no road at that time, no geochemistry. I would show you more about Piros now. So this is what happened in Piros is that we walk into here, we define this big zone of like a 2.8 kilometer by 1.5 kilometers of sericitic alteration in strong sericitic overprinting early quartz veins, very typical of porphyry, but the porphyry was not outcropping in general, it was just the host rock. And we found a little outcrop of porphyry in this corner. And then we were able to move the road relatively fast and put some scout drilling in this white area that represents 20% of the porphyry system. I am very pleased with the results so far because in that area, the results just below a relatively thin cover of the host rock, because we're in the cupola of the porphyry. We went into the porphyry's different phases of dioritic intrusion with potassic alteration or printed by sericitic. We see chalcopyrite, we see molybdenite, we see cobellite, and the drill holes, most of them were mineralized and right almost from the surface. You see those 119 meters of 0.22 copper equivalent, including 34 of 0.34% copper equivalent, 142 of 0.24. And so we proved that this is the style of mineralization that we look and the alteration and the copper gold moly relationship. So the next step in this is, remember, we did all this drilling. We don't have all these geochemistry that you see here. These are soils, over 2,000 samples of soil. We only got these results like a month ago, the full result. So we were drilling only with the visual characteristics of the porphyry rocks. But I think it was worth it to do it because we now have a good idea that below the thin cover of granite, we have the porphyry. We know the edge of the rock is the right one. So now what we are doing is going back to the field right now and doing the integration of all this knowledge that we have with geochemistry, with geophysics, everything covered with geophysics and mapping. And we are going to look for define the next drill sites. And we're going to bring the rig the beginning of January and start drilling again here, more scout drilling holes to keep understanding the system. Hopefully we can find like the people did in Fierro after exploring for many years in a site in a porphyry that has the same footprint that we have here, like around 3 kilometers by 2 kilometers. They were able to find one area of like a 500 meters that has a very high grade. So we have a lot of room here for that to happen. And we're in the right big system. And something else that we did here in Fierro, we recognize that the veins that are around the green and the blue areas were zoning from base metals with sericite to copper and gold and magnetite when they were getting close to the red color. So I say something is like a center in there. We call the antenna hill area. So we did mapping and sampling, but we couldn't finish a road there. So we decided to put one hole on the margin on the creek where there was a road already open there. So we put a hole in the hole. Became very, but for being a scout drilling that we put in the margin of the system, you can see there we have some values of 1% copper and 1 gram gold and 0.5 gram gold and 0.8% copper. And the alteration was very interesting. We went from albitic and sodic alteration into potassic alteration at depth. And what you see in the section here is a section that shows as a generalized concept of antenna. So these are the faults that you see in blue that limit the caldera, the 20 million year caldera. In this color here, this orange color, are the volcanics that were coming out into the caldera. And some of these gray colors are the diorite, the 20 million years diorite that were in place along these faults with breccias and forming a very big zone also of alteration. This is super early stage, but we put one hole, we did geophysics. So now we are back in the field. We're going to do more work and prepare more areas for drilling in antenna. And also in Fierro, we will, all this done is proving all this red color that all this intrusive is really using. It's really what bringing the mineralization. And we have a lot of more work to do to explore around those intrusive rocks. So Fierro is a very early stage. We have been really doing an excellent job in 1.5 years to move from first time that we visit the place to the place where we are right now, where it's a very good district that will be attractive for any major company that would like to explore something with a big footprint. I will tell you this is the right place to be. And getting the thousands things that we have been doing successfully. And one of them is the Poncha. In the Poncha, we have 34,000 hectares. We knew that we have Poncha Norte and Poncha South. Poncha Norte was very attractive because it has a big diatreme, intermineal diatreme, and with the small porphyry dikes outcropping in one part of the diatreme. Large part of the diatreme is covered by gravel. So but we put some hole because the porphyry has good porphyry style mineralization on the surface. We want to test the grades and the continuity at depth of the porphyry that we see there. Those drill holes came, as you can see, over 250 meters, very close to 0.3%, 0.35% gold equivalent. It's more gold copper than not much more in this system, and more gold than copper really. And it was a good first pass. We are so busy now drilling those 4 targets, 2 in Fierro and 2 in Don Julio, that what we're going to do in Poncha is we have a group of geologists doing a reconnaissance of the entire property, the 34,000 hectares, to find out how many targets we can define for drilling, and then rank them for the next season, compared with the one that we produce in Fierro and Don Julio. And here, the next season, we decide what to do. Hopefully, we have a discovery, and then we can keep going with the pipeline in the same systematic way that we always promise you to do. And just a couple of slides before I finish this update, and you guys can ask your questions, is why I still think that we are a good company, because we are doing what we promised to do. We are doing this systematic, very pragmatical approach. We are focusing only on big targets. That's important thing, because if we want to have a win, we want a big win to be serious, really impact in the valuation of the company in the big way. And in this graph that you see here on the right, when you see on the x-axis is tonnage, millions of tons, versus the vertical axis that is copper grade in percentage. Copper equivalent could be also there. I have copper equivalent, but and then the lines that you see, the dots that you see there, are a lot of different porphyries around the world. They change different sizes, different grade. You can see some porphyries are around 0.1% copper to 1% copper. Some are sometimes 1.5%, but between 0.1 and 1%. The ton is between 10 million tons to more than 10 billion tons. And the line that you see here on the inclined lines, that means that any point, for example, on the size of these 10 million, so to the right, is a combination of tonnage and grade. They give you more than 10 million tons of copper to contain in that system. And anything on the right side of the red line there is more than 25 million tons of copper contained. 25 million for the people that work a lot on the market of copper. They consider a deposit that contains more than 25 million tons is a super giant. We as a human being are consuming around 25 million tons of copper per year. So we are consuming one of those supergiants per year. We are probably basically finishing all of them, because all were discovered in the 70s. So the world needs to find more big porphyry systems, or raise the price of copper to mine lower grade deposits. Whatever happens, we are in the right business, because if we find a deposit in this range, and that's what we are looking for, it's going to give us a good evaluation. You can see all those stars that you see there, all these colors, red, blue, purple, that are down here are named Pelambre, Pachón, Jose Maria. All of those are on the size that we would love to have, that bring values to companies between half, like Jose Maria 700 million or Fierro del Sol with $2.6 billion. Those are the kind of gains that you can get if you find one of those. And so that's the first point. That's why we keep our eyes in those things. We don't get distracted. I don't want to give you some good high grade result, something that is not going to take us anywhere. It has to be, we have to keep in the course. The other one is to have like we always mention, a pipeline. We, in this moment, our pipeline is very good because we have 4 projects in second round of drilling, very mature. And we have a bunch of projects that are going to be ready for drilling, first round of drilling the next season. And we still have generation in the bottom. And we are drilling 4 targets per year. This type of target, also something that is that increase the chance to have discoveries. No? And we don't have any problem to put a scout drill hole when we believe that is necessary. And then on top of this, we have the money to do this job. We have $17 million in cash in this moment, and we have coming this year from South 32 another close to $5 million. So basically, give us access to $23 million to explore. And our exploration budget in this year is 7.7 million. So very simple. The money that we have, it can allow us to keep testing this pipeline for another 3 years. So it's a very good position to keep going. I hope that we don't take 3 years to have a discovery, but it's going to take what it's going to take. You know, we keep doing the work that we have to do. So in summary, we're going to be drilling the 4 projects. I think we're going to drill around 10,000 meters. We're going to do the first pass project to first round of drilling. At least I know Tocota, Fermin. I'm sure something is going to come from Concha and from Fierro. The budget is, like I mentioned before was $7.7 million Canadian. From that money, 4.7 are coming from South 32. That will leave us in position for around at least $12 million in the bank at the end of the season next year. And as also, we know that sooner or later we will have to sell those NSRs that we own in British Columbia. That will give us, I think at least it give us money to go for one more year in this exploration process. So I just want to, to bring you this up today. It's having a lot of work. It's a lot more work coming, and I consider the results that we have in the drilling. That we have a lot of grades around 0.2, 0.3% copper equivalent, 0.3 grams gold. I want to see 0.5 to really get excited about having economic discovery, but we have enough room, and we are not too far from that grade.
Thank you for the update, Ruben. I think we have a few audience questions and a few questions from Magda and I. Magda, do you want to get started?
Sure. I think you mentioned like in the press release and on your presentation that it was like the first porphyry type intercept from Don Julio. I think it was like Gringa. Was that the target?
Gringa, yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about the potassic zone? You mentioned how that kind of indicates that you're hopefully probably very close to the porphyry.
When we see in the Andes this large, we call it advanced argillic zones, normally it's the upper, like I always say, imagine that we can separate like in 3 levels of building. So the upper building is the epithermal zone. The second building is the sericitic zone, and the third one, the bottom, is the potassic. The porphyry is associated with the first level. This is what the big deposits are normally. Then there is a nobody's ground in the second floor. Sericitic normally doesn't hold any big deposits. And then you have the epithermal that is the upper level. So we knew that we were somehow in the third level, but we were right touching the second level, almost touching them. So we knew that was gone. And that we knew that this kind of system, they normally have the 2 levels, the sericitic and the potassic, but we don't ever know the sericitic can be 1 kilometer there. And it makes everything impossible to discover. And the bottom of the third level could be still have a big chunk uneroded. So, and another thing is in an area measured 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers, all these yellow rocks, you don't know that it's 10 by 10 kilometers, but your porphyry is probably only 500 meters by 700 meters. So poking hole like that is not going to make it. So it takes a lot of thinking and mapping. And then finally we were able to put these holes, and fortunately, the bottom of the advanced argillic, the last level, it was only 200 meters. And the sericitic, instead of being 1 kilometer, or the second level is only 200 meters. So we now prove that the porphyry is there, and it has the potassic alteration, it has copper and moly, it's not barren. And we know we are in the margin of the house, we are not in the living room yet. That we want to get there now. We know that in the right level. Now we need to move toward the area, but we know we are not too far away. But when you find the potassic alteration with that, we should not be more than 200 to 500 meters away from the core of the system. That doesn't mean that it's high grade. That's another question. This is the next chance that we are taking. But we reduce the chance that don't find the porphyry. Now I think that we're going to find the porphyry now, the center. So now we need to ask the question, is there a 1%, 0.8% plus gold in that center? And that's the next step for us. And you know, research and development exploration is always about asking the question and the best and most efficient way to answer the question. Doesn't mean that we're going to be the answer that we want. But what we need to do is to be sure that we are asking the right question and being efficient in the way that we research.
Thank you. And then staying with Don Julio, I think you mentioned it's a 5 kilometer long lithocap, and it includes 2 of the targets, La Gringa and Poposa, I think, and then there's a third one just outside of it. So can you speak to a little bit how like the geology?
La Gringa and Poposa, La Gringa is on the east, on the north side, and Poposa is in the other extreme of the lithocap. So it's so apart in the same big lithocap, but we have evidence of porphyry in the 2 of them. So we don't know if they are it's a big porphyry underneath that is like a 4 kilometers long. That is possible, it's not impossible. Or we have 2 different centers. You have a lithocap, the 2 porphyries that are overlapping on the surface. So we don't know at the moment, but in this moment, the results of the drilling looks more interesting in Gringa, so we prefer to continue the drilling in Gringa. So that's a possible connection. The Punta Cana is very interesting because it's no relationship with lithocap. Punta Cana is an area, the porphyry is outcropping on the surface. It's the first time that we find, well, I said Tocota was also outcropping, but we didn't find that porphyry outcropping. It's outcropping in like a 5,000 meters elevation. And it's different because the porphyry in La Gringa is more copper moly and it's not too much. I don't think it's very magnetic in the characteristics. And it's more copper and moly with some gold. The Gringa is more copper and gold and copper, and it's more magnetic, the rock, more diuretics. And I think that different genetically, they have 2 different types of magma that produce those. Though they're very close, genetically it has something very different. I think that the copper and moly are more the classics, Escondidas, Pelambres, those type of deposits, Pachon. And I think the areas like Tocota, like Punta Cana, are more Maricunga style, more gold and copper porphyry system. Interesting to see in one district so many different things. I like that. I like when I see these multiple events, different style of mineralization happening in the area like that.
So as you go into your next drill season and eventually you drill and you get more results, are potential results like seeing what you hit or don't hit at, for instance, La Gringa, going to help you guide exploration at Poposa, or is it kind of too early to kind of draw that relationship?
Well, if we find mineralization economic in La Gringa now in the valley, our next step will be to drill on the direction of Poposa to see if we can connect those 2 systems below the ground. So that will be a cool thing, because if we can prove it's a big system connecting everything there will be great. No? So yeah, we will see, but it's more evident right now in La Gringa. So we always try to get with more. We have a better evidence on the surface right now on the drilling. That's the importance of the drilling. So this drilling, I know that we all would like to see discovery hole, but normally it's just it's step by step that we need to go into this thing, and we have to be also very we need to be very brave in this thing. Also, we need to know when to stop. If this hole were bad, I would have stopped drilling. But the reality is, from the knowledge of porphyry that we have with experience, they are very good, because they are giving you the vectors to move toward the place that maybe is the center, that is the one that should have the best grade. Same thing with Punta Cana. first hole that we put in Punta Cana, 400 meters of 0.3 gram gold. That's not bad for first hole drilled in the margin. Many places in the world they call this ore. They call it ore, but this is we need more than that to get excited.
And then switching gears to El Fierro. So I don't know if it was just like the different scales, but is it correct to say that the size of the magnetic anomaly is a lot larger, or it kind of is it just the different centers?
We don't have a magnetic anomaly with these characteristics in Don Julio. This is very unique. This donut that we have here, we don't have a clue what this was. We always guessed it was something related to some magmas at depth, but I thought the magma were going to be very deep, and this is a response for something deep. But now we really believe that this is a magmatic caldera with these resurgent things intrusive on the margin, and this is a big wall of magma. This red thing that you see there that is bringing a lot of mineralization. And if we are comparing this with Don Julio, in Don Julio, we don't see this size of magnetic anomaly that we see here. These are different in terms of the magnetic anomaly.
Your press release from maybe last year said that you were drilling fences along it to test it.
We drilled some fences at the beginning here because we knew the porphyry, the anomaly was that we saw of porphyry in the surface was extending in that direction, northeast. So we said we want to drill from the margin of the possible porphyry to the other margin, and we did. Basically, this is the margin of the intrusive the porphyry, and we're out of there. So we were able to test a section on there, but it was unfortunately with the size of this thing, we only drilled a little section right there. And now we have the Juquini. When we drilled, we didn't have a Juquini here. And you can see the best moly anomaly, the best copper anomaly is located to the south. So I think in the next steps, because I know the direction of the porphyry and the alteration, I'm not sure yet, because we're going to decide in the next 2 months about the drilling. But we probably do some scout drilling following the best geochemical anomalies in the best structural zone as a scout drilling in the next round. It's more efficient, more cost efficient.
Thank you. That's all the geology questions I had.
Maybe I'll jump in. There's some audience questions as well. So Ruben, why doesn't the market realize that the holes that were drilled are good, and how will you get it across to the market? I think that's something that we've talked about too, that there's a bit of a misunderstanding out there about the recent drill program. Can you comment?
I think that it's my responsibility to go out there and tell the story almost one-to-one to a lot of people. And like this in webinar today, for example, I was in another forum with like 20 people explaining these results. I was in New York also talking to another bunch of people for the last 3 days. And I think that what happened is there is technical information that has to be passed on, basic background geology, this system that I need to pass to the people that have interest, to all of us. I understand that, when people see sub-ore grade, the first glance is that, well, that's a failure. But, doesn't matter. I try to write the report and the press release is the best, explaining the best I can that this is not the end. The reason we are drilling is because there is a chance. How to change this, I think it takes time to pass the message. I don't think, I find, at least for me, I may be no good on doing this, but it's to pass this message in one press release is, especially with people. Some group of people were waiting for the winner for all or nothing, like you go to the casino, you just put all the coins in one number and all or nothing. It's not like that. It's this. We talk a lot about this systematic approach of exploration, and you keep asking the question, and you say, well, it gets me closer now the answer, but it doesn't get me there yet. So I need to move to the next level. But I need to go back to say, okay, when you see the transition for first time to find a porphyry style mineralization in a system that is like a 10 kilometers big size, that everybody can guess in those places, oh, there must be some kind of porphyry mineralization underneath. But for you to decide where in those 10 kilometers put the drill hole and find something that is 500 meter by 500 meter size. And then it's not flat, it's this big mountains and complicated. Takes some time, and I'm really encouraged with the fact that we were able to vector into that. And now with the geophysics, you saw this beautiful IP anomaly right next to the, where, I can predict that it was going to be there without the IP, because because the way that this model works, it's only the only place that we can move is to the west to look for the center. Yes, the reason I think is because it's complicated, and the only way to bring and try to is the message is I need to talk to more people, spend time on the phone on this type of meetings to keep explaining. All the major shareholders, the mayor of Cisco, Merrick, Franklin Templeton, they are not dropping one share, because they understand what we are doing, and they understand that it takes some time, and they like the fact that they always say, as long as you take chances for big ones and you do it the right way, keep going that way.
I think that's a really valid point. So I had one question from the audience asking if the sell-off of the share price was initiated by one fund. Did you lose a major investor recently or in the past year?
Well, there is a chance that there was one group, but I don't really want to get too much into that noise. People sold it, not much I can do about it.
And I guess the second part of that question was it not possible to set up a block trade?
Yes, but I didn't have any message about that. And it's it was never a contact for me for the possibility to do it.
Okay. Why such a small drill program this time around? Only about 2,000 meters when you take out South 32?
South 32 is 8,000 meters. With us in Fierro, I want to drill at least 3,000, but I'm putting, you never know. I'm always very conservative because we plan for a lot and then the rigs don't show up and winter comes. And so I think that we'll drill at least 10,000 meters. If I drill more, it doesn't change the outcome of the answering the question. So the amount of drilling that you do is you are asking a question to the rocks. And I believe that amount of drilling, it will give us the answer for good or for bad. It will going to give us the answer. If the answer is positive, we don't stop drilling, we continue drilling. But if the answer is negative, we don't want to drill more, we want to spend more money.
Makes sense.
Every time that we invest money in something, from target generation to drilling, it's to the point that we answer a question and we want to get to the answer. And then we decide, we'll reevaluate for the next step, we'll continue how much money we need.
And then why has the drilling been delayed versus last year? It looks like pictures on Twitter show no snow for quite some time now.
We tell you everybody Altar, we have a lot of snow. We have a very unusual winter. I think no surprise for anybody in the world is changing, but just last week we have a lot of snow on the ground again. But the camps are in place. We have a camp in Don Julio ready for 65 people. We are ready in Fierro. The snow has been very unusual. I hope that the forecast is going to be better now by the end of the month.
That's a good reminder. We should probably get some new pictures from you, Ruben.
Okay.
And then another question about drilling. So why is El Fierro drilling starting in January and not sooner? Is that just the snow as well? No. In El Fierro, like I mentioned, it's only 1.5 years working there. We discover Piros and the porphyries antenna even later, and at the end of the season. And Piros in December, we did all these soils I showed you, more than 2,000 samples. We got the results back only like a month ago. And we drilled whatever we were able to drill because the access we opened the road to that place. We so much that we need to understand before I decide where to put the drill hole. I am giving myself enough time, October, November, and December, to go back to the field and to integrate all the data to decide where to put the drill hole. Again, if I bring the rig right now, the grid drill around is going to be, I want to destroy all the money and don't get the answers I want. So you need to keep this systematic, good, pragmatic, scientific approach. Don't rush if you don't have the place that you have a good reason to go and drill yet. I'm sure it's a place to drill there, but I'm gonna give me these 3 months to know exactly where I want to put the hole. I had two questions left from the audience, mostly just talking about your capital market strategy and how do you really extract shareholder value. I know you referenced that you're doing some new marketing initiatives and attending some conferences. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit about that.
We are engaged now with a group that we are doing once a week launches around different parts of the US and different parts of the world. Just bringing the message to new potential investors. That's very good because it's just expand the number of people that are interested in Sable. We are working with a high-level institution. Like I said, I was in the East Coast. We're going to California just to pass the message to another level of investors that have interest. Some mayors have been expressing interest to talk to us, especially to review Fierro. But in our case, I like if they want to see it, that we don't want to get any partnership in this moment because we have enough cash to do all the early exploration. We don't want to give the value right at the beginning. And we are attending some key conferences that are recommended by you, Deborah. I say I can go anywhere, but it has to be worth it. That we don't just be going to every conference around the world because we need to find. That's the reason I have the group like Deborah, another group that are professional in this, and Jason that also have more experience in this thing. That I am available to go anywhere and do any marketing, but it has to be worth it. I don't want to be around the world talking and then there's no change. A lot of the work that we can do is to go to places where we have good chances to people pay attention to our message.
Have you had any success in attracting South American investors into the company?
No, I haven't. And there is a chance, and there are two markets that have a chance. One is Argentina. There's a lot of cash in Argentina that wants to get out of Argentina. They invested in outside, so it's a good potential. I know that our neighbor, South, that is exploring, but the way they got a really good drill hole today, they announced they're 600 and something meters of 0.4% copper. It's our neighbor. They are attracting a lot of cash, like 20% of the money is from Argentina. And also the other markets, Peruvian market. So maybe something that I need to look at.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. I don't have any other questions, Magda.
Not for me.
I guess we can end it there, Ruben. Maybe just as a little bit of a summary, can you summarize some of the upcoming catalysts and things that investors can be looking for?
Yeah, the main ones is the drilling in the short term in the Gringa and that IP anomaly. And they will be followed by having the rod on the top of Punta Cana and drill into the middle of that MAC anomaly with a good geochemistry on the surface. So those two ones are, let's say the next 4 months are the ones that are going to give us a surprise. Like I always say, it's only need one good hole to change the whole, from being a dreamer to be somebody that has something that is real. And the next one will be followed with more drilling at Fierro, especially starting in January. I don't know if the labs are going to be better that year, but I don't have any big hope that it's going to be changing too much on the time. But those are the main ones.
And do you expect to have consistent results, or will you batch them again?
No, I don't like to. If you have a discovery hole and it's something screaming, you have to release it. There's no doubt. But if you have a hole that's giving you indication that you need to keep going in that direction, and your plan is to drill 8,000, 5,000 meters, you just keep doing the job until you have a full answer to the question. Because dropping one hole like this, people, are more confused. It confused the audience instead of helping.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Well, thanks so much for your time, Ruben. I hope you get some questions answered this drill season.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for participating. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out and we'll get those answered for you. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.